We're diving into a major breaking story that's shaking both Russia and Ukraine, the massive explosion that has reportedly destroyed the Crimea Bridge. This bridge, also known as the Kerch Bridge, has been a crucial and symbolic link between Russia and the Crimean Peninsula, and now reports are emerging that it's gone after a huge blast. Russia has finally admitted the explosion happened, and the world is watching to see what this means for the war and for the future of the region. The Crimea Bridge isn't just another piece of infrastructure, it's a 19-kilometer engineering marvel that connected mainland Russia to Crimea, which Moscow annexed back in 2014. For years, Russia celebrated the bridge as a symbol of unity and power, but for Ukraine it has always represented occupation and illegal control. So when news broke that the bridge had suffered a massive explosion, it immediately became more than just a physical loss. It became a political and military turning point. According to reports from multiple sources, the explosion occurred early in the morning. Witnesses described hearing a thunderous blast that lit up the night sky. Videos quickly appeared online showing huge flames and thick smoke rising over the Kerch Strait. The scale of the explosion suggested that a large amount of explosives were used, possibly underwater. Some analysts believe it could have been an underwater drone or a planted explosive device. For hours after the incident, Russia remained silent. There were no official statements, no footage, and no explanations. But as evidence began to spread across social media, Russian authorities were forced to respond. Eventually, Russian officials confirmed that an explosion had taken place, but insisted that the bridge was not destroyed and that repairs were already underway. However, satellite images and videos told a different story. Large sections of the roadway appeared to have collapsed into the water. Ukraine's security services quickly claimed responsibility for the operation. Officials from Kyiv said that the attack was carried out by underwater special forces using a sophisticated explosive device. They described it as a precise and planned operation designed to disrupt Russian military supply lines into Crimea. According to Ukraine, over 1,000 kilograms of explosives were used in the attack, causing severe structural damage to the bridge. This isn't the first time the Crimea Bridge has been attacked. In October 2022, a massive truck bomb destroyed part of the roadway, temporarily halting traffic. Then again in 2023, Ukrainian sea drones targeted the structure, damaging a section of the bridge and killing 2 civilians. But this latest explosion appears to be the most devastating one yet. It raises new questions about Russia's ability to protect its key infrastructure and about Ukraine's growing military capabilities. For Russia, admitting that the bridge is gone is more than just acknowledging physical damage. It's an admission of vulnerability. The Kremlin has long used the bridge as a symbol of control over Crimea, something President Vladimir Putin personally celebrated when he drove the first truck across it in 2018. To lose it now in the middle of the ongoing war is a serious blow both militarily and politically. The military implications are huge. The bridge has been one of Russia's main supply routes for moving weapons, fuel, and troops into occupied Crimea and southern Ukraine. Without it, Russia faces major logistical problems. Supplies now have to be rerouted through land corridors in the east or by ferry, both of which are slower and more vulnerable to attack. Some experts believe this could significantly weaken Russia's ability to maintain its forces in southern Ukraine. Ukraine, on the other hand, sees this as a major victory. The destruction of the bridge serves as both a tactical and symbolic achievement. Tactically, it disrupts Russia's military operations and supply lines. Symbolically, it sends a message to the world that even Russia's most protected and iconic structures are not beyond reach. Ukrainian officials have said that this operation is part of their ongoing efforts to reclaim Crimea and end the occupation. There's also a major psychological dimension to this event. For the Russian public, the Crimea Bridge has been a national pride project, built under sanctions and amid global criticism. Its destruction sends shockwaves across Russian society, challenging the perception of security and control that the Kremlin has tried to maintain. It also adds pressure on Putin, who has made Crimea a cornerstone of his political identity. For Ukrainians, the news has sparked a wave of celebration online. Social media has been flooded with memes, songs, and videos praising the attack. Many see it as revenge for years of occupation and as proof that Ukraine's defense forces are capable of striking deep into Russian-controlled territory. It's not just a military victory, but also a morale booster for a country that has endured so much under bombardment. Internationally, reactions have been mixed. Western allies of Ukraine have cautiously praised Kyiv's growing ability to target strategic infrastructure, while urging restraint to avoid further escalation. NATO countries have reiterated that Crimea is legally part of Ukraine, and therefore any strikes there are legitimate acts of defense. Meanwhile, Russia's allies, such as China and Iran, have called for de-escalation and dialogue, emphasizing the need to prevent the conflict from spreading. The propaganda war around this incident is intense. Russian state media initially tried to downplay the explosion, claiming it was a minor fire or an accident. But as more footage emerged, that narrative became impossible to sustain. Ukraine's media outlets quickly filled the gap, releasing dramatic videos and statements describing the attack as a turning point. Both sides are using the event to rally domestic and international support, each shaping the story to fit their political objectives. The destruction of the Crimea Bridge could also have long-term consequences for Russia's hold on the peninsula. With supply routes disrupted, Crimea becomes more isolated and vulnerable. Ukraine has repeatedly stated that it plans to liberate Crimea, and this attack may be part of a broader strategy to cut off Russian forces and weaken their ability to defend the region. For ordinary Crimean residents, the explosion adds to growing uncertainty. Some reports suggest that traffic has been halted indefinitely, and that thousands of vehicles are stranded on both sides of the strait. Ferry services have resumed, but they are limited and slow. The economic impact could be significant, affecting everything from food deliveries to tourism. The destruction also exposes the limits of Russia's air and sea defenses. Despite years of investment and multiple layers of protection, Ukrainian forces were still able to strike one of Russia's most critical structures. This raises uncomfortable questions for Moscow about its defense strategy and the effectiveness of its military technology. Some analysts believe this could prompt Russia to retaliate harshly. In past instances, attacks on the bridge were followed by waves of missile strikes on Ukrainian cities and energy infrastructure. There's fear that this pattern could repeat, with Russia launching new attacks on power grids, ports, and civilian areas in retaliation. Ukraine, however, appears prepared for such responses, continuing to strengthen its air defense systems with support from Western allies. The explosion also carries symbolic weight beyond the battlefield. The Crimea Bridge has been more than a physical connection, it was a political statement. It was built to show the world that Russia's control over Crimea was permanent. Now, its destruction sends the opposite message, that nothing Russia builds on occupied territory is safe. It challenges the idea of permanence and control that the Kremlin has projected for nearly a decade. From a historical perspective, the fall of the bridge may mark a turning point in the war. Just as the destruction of supply routes in past conflicts changed the tide of battle, this event could reshape the logistics of both sides. Russia may have to rethink its entire southern supply network, while Ukraine could gain strategic advantages that help it push further toward liberation of its territories. Yet there's still uncertainty about the full extent of the damage. While Ukrainian officials say the bridge is completely destroyed, Russia continues to insist that it's only partially damaged. Satellite images, however, show at least one section missing, and experts argue that even if repairs are possible, it could take months to restore full functionality. As the story develops, one thing is clear: this explosion is not just another incident in the ongoing war. It's a powerful reminder that even the most heavily defended structures can fall. It's a demonstration of how modern warfare now includes underwater and drone-based operations, capable of changing the dynamics of conflict without massive troop movements. The coming weeks will reveal more. Will Russia rebuild the bridge again despite the risk of further attacks? Or will it shift its focus toward alternative routes and fortifications? Will Ukraine continue to target critical infrastructure inside occupied territories? These are questions military analysts and political leaders around the world are now asking. For now, what we know is this: the Crimea Bridge, once a proud symbol of Russia's dominance, now lies shattered after a massive explosion. Its destruction is both a literal and figurative break between Russia and Crimea, and it may mark the beginning of a new phase in the war. One defined by precision strikes, psychological warfare, and escalating risks on both sides. Thank you all for watching. If you found this breakdown helpful, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe for more updates, and share your thoughts in the comments. What do you think this means for the future of the war? Is this the beginning of Crimea's liberation? Or will Russia strike back even harder? Let's talk about it. Stay informed, stay safe, and I'll see you in the next video.